Hello everybody and welcome back to the DCS F-18 Flight School Campaign that I've been working on. We're continuing to try to do quality control for this to hopefully eventually get it ready and then actually post it for sale, either personally by myself or hopefully it'd be really cool to do it on the DCS web store and all that stuff, but that's later on down the road. We are continuing to work on the BVR campaign that we were doing yesterday. Unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, I did figure out how to do active pause, but the issue with that is that active pause only pauses you. It doesn't pause anything else. It doesn't pause any weapons that you fire. It doesn't pause any of the other aircraft. And I haven't really figured out a way to make it so that everything in the game freezes, but the narration continues. So, I did figure out putting some active pause into certain parts of this. We'll try to make that. We'll try to make that work. And then my solution for the issue that we had towards the end of trying to make sure that we get enough information in before things happen was to make it so that well, we'll talk about it when we get there, I guess. So let's go ahead. We'll get into the ground. I'm not going to spend any time really. I'm not going to really spend any time. If you want to hear the narrations, you can go back and watch the previous video. We're going to go ahead and just kind of skip through those. This obviously is not the correct way of taking off, but it is the most expeditious way of taking off. So this is how we're doing it. I'm far more concerned with getting the testing done than I am about doing it properly for this.
Being shot down, regardless of your level.
We are supposed to be heading over to 325.
Better to shoot enemies down before you can see them, or at least push them away and deny them the airspace.
Pull our throttle back to
we're going to engage an older MiG using our radar and aim 120 Charlie.
All right, so we're gonna zoom past all of that. Once we lock into the heading that we're supposed to do,
fence in.
So we'll fence in and do all of that.
First, let's talk about how missiles
work. So all of this is going to talk about the radar and searching for the guy, so we're just going to go past all of that. And we're going to get to the part where it wants us to search for the guy.
Now that we understand the concept, there is no perfect strategy.
So at this point,
remember that if you won't, your radar doesn't actually see it yet, and all you're getting is
get out to 80 miles. Make sure that our elevation is set up in a way to actually be able to find the guy. It seems like that's the case.
Press IP for
Alright, so we want to get up to about 30,000 feet. Oh, but I need to level off a little bit because... Turn off the... Select the AMRAM so we don't have to listen to the... forever. Yeah, well, I actually wanted you to stay like that. Well, I wanted me doing that, so I wanted you to actually continue climbing. Thank you. Alright, so we're climbing up to there, and we're just waiting for the radar to pick up the MiG out in the distance. Once we do, we press the IP button to let the instructor know that we are ready to move on to the next step in the process. All right, we'll slowly continue climbing. I want to make sure that I always have to mess with the elevation. It's never just set where I want it to be. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of waiting for the MiG to show up. And then we'll press the I always use the IP button. If you're new to watch, I've done videos on this campaign that I've done before. If you're new, this button isn't really used for anything, but it is a communication related button. So I use this as the telling the narrator I'm ready for the next thing, telling the narrator that you're ready for the next thing, and so that's what that's for. But yeah, we're waiting for our radar. Oh, hold on. Data link to turn that. I always forget to turn the data link on. We are now at the altitude that I would like to be at. I believe this is our guy right here. We're just waiting on the radar to actually lock him up. Yep, there he goes. Okay, and now we'll...
Okay, the first thing we need to do is start a minimal defense against any missiles the target may try to fire at us. Get used to the idea of placing your targets to the extreme left or right of your radar screen, which is called...
Okay, so he's gonna talk about some stuff, then he tells you to go ahead and do a crank and put him on the right side of your radar. So we're gonna simulate going ahead and having done that, and then we press IP. Active pause gets turned on, and he explains all of the symbology here, right?
circle.
So there's a few
The last
pages of
thing
that
about the
happens.
circle is
Unfortunately,
that it will grow
the
in
MiG's still
size on
flying
your
at you,
HUD
which
as the
probably is a good
probability
thing.
of
He's going to
kill
continue
increases.
closing distance while you're
Once
getting
you
all of
have a
this
nice,
instruction.
big circle. Once you get to around 20
And
miles,
then he explains
you'll
getting
start a
close enough to
controlled
fire your
turn
missile to
the
have a
right,
decent chance
being
of
sure
doing
to
it. Then you
minimize
press
the
IP
loss
to
of
unpause,
airspeed.
and we start
And once the dot
flinging
is
over
within
to the right to
circle,
fire off our
fire
missile.
the missile using the trigger and keep turning until the target is on the other
All
side
right, so
of
we're
the
going to go
screen.
ahead and do that.
This will keep the target on your own radar while forcing any missiles it might have fired at you to turn all the way around to attempt to intercept your new trajectory, slowing it down. After the missile is away, begin a steep descent toward the ground to get yourself into thicker air so the enemy missile has a harder time getting to you.
All right, so ideally, we'll have
Be sure
sat
to
there
keep the
longer
target in
listening
your
to the
radar for as
explanation,
long as
and
possible, but at some point you're
we'll
going
not
to
have
need to
lost
turn
the lock
away
on this guy.
or go cold in order to escape any inbound missiles. Keep an eye and ear on your RWR so you can detect when a missile locks you or goes pit bull and is likely to hit you any moment. Dispense chaff, the countermeasure for radar missiles, to attempt to defeat.
Fortunately, I have this enemy
you.
set as just more or less like a drone, just to get the concept down. He doesn't actually fire on you. So I want to get close enough that the missile is actually going to have a decent chance of hitting him. But the next set of instructions talking about RWR, we lost him again. How did we lose him again? He's really close, and there's no reason we should have lost him. We're just going to shoot at him. All right.
The last thing we need to talk
thought I
about
turned off
is
the active pause.
RWR.
Okay.
We've used it in a limited capacity
I
to
missed
simply be
something
aware of
in the
being
thing
locked
here.
and fired on.
Yeah.
After your missiles
I
are
did
away-
make a change, but unfortunately, whatever change I made, it did not actually end up doing what I thought it was going to do. So let's go back and take a look at the events here. The pause here. Oh, it didn't save my command. I literally turned that off, and then I saved it. And right before I started recording for this video, I literally did this right here and hit the save button. So I'm not sure why that happened. Okay. So at this point, so the idea is that we get this. So we get this talk. He tells us get within 20 miles and fire, and that's the part where we unpause and then do our turn to the right to actually fire on the guy, and then. So, and it's paused this entire time. So this set command 816 is what turns the active pause on and off. It just flips the state depending on where it is when you activate this command. So he finishes telling you how to finish actually firing off the missile. You press the IP button to advance the flags and stuff and turn off the active pause. And then what ends up happening is that I have this zone around here that's around where the MiG's going to be. It's called the missile in zone missile in zone trigger zone, and it basically just detects that there's an AIM-120C in the air in that zone, so that as soon as you fire off your missile, it triggers that zone because you're going to be in that zone when this happens, and it activates the next thing, which is supposed to be listening to this stuff about the RWR, and it's not supposed to pause anymore. I did have it set up to do that, but unfortunately, it did not actually save my thing there, even though I told it to. I guess I don't really need any kind of unpause from here now, so unfortunately, okay, so I think I can delete this unpause thing because we're just not going to pause. And the problem is that I don't really... that you're going to be in the middle of simulating defending against the missile while this is happening, so expecting you to press the IP button to continue... I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess we can listen to him talking about this stuff while you're defending, and then when you're done being task saturated by simulating defending a missile, you press the button and it continues. So we have 21 going to 22. The way I have this working is when you press the button, it changes the flag, and then when you lift up off the button, it changes the flag, because I was having issues with pressing the button. It just zipped through the flags really fast. So you have to have it in and out, so that it doesn't skip through a bunch of flags doing it this way. If you learn about this, you'll understand what I mean by that. So so all of these need to go from 21 to 22, and then from 22 to 23, and then this needs to be 23 to 24. Did I not change some of these? 20 to 20. So 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 23 to 24, 20. And then, once the MiG is damaged, that does success for the mission, and you go back and land. Okay, I'm not sure. I must not have updated some things then. So we'll save that, and we'll try to do this again. This time we'll seriously zip through some things because, it is what it is. All right, finish loading, and then off we go.
The first part of any modern engagement will be the Beyond Visual Range, or BVR. There is no perfect strategy when it comes to the procedures of a BVR fight, but we can provide you with some general guidelines to help you learn the basics. By now, your radar should be picking up a contact somewhere out in front of you.
325.
Slew your cursor over the target and start trying to lock it up. Remember that if it won't, your radar doesn't actually...
Fencing. We'll go ahead and have him move on to the next thing. Oh, crap. That was stupid. I didn't mean to do that. All right, that's fine. We'll just have to skip through all of that. We'll just have to skip through everything. I advanced a little bit too far with the settings there, but that's all right. We'll get this done. Okay, and then whoop. Get this. I just want to make sure my elevation is set up in a way that's going to allow me to actually find the guy. I don't remember what altitude I had him set at, but I'm pretty sure between 7 and 28 is probably pretty safe. So let's get up to the point where we can find him. Then we'll do our crank to the left, and then ideally this time when we do our trigger, it's just going to start the narration, ideally. Okay, so we'll go ahead. I'm not even going to crank. I'm just gonna go straight at him. Can you let go? I hate, I'm not a fan of how stubborn the autopilot is on this aircraft. A minimal amount of stick and other inputs should really be enough to get it to turn off, but sometimes it just does not. So we are going to do like this until we get to around 20. There we go. We're going to get the steering pod in there. All right, cool.
The last thing we need to talk about is
so he'll be talking to us, and then ideally you're going to be defending, right? Defending away from the way and holding the guy in the
information provided by the system. When used properly, you can have a really good idea of what your opponents are doing based on what is happening.
So the only issue that we're going to have is that the missile's going to hit him long before the narrations happen. So I don't know how to get around that. I really don't know how to get around that.
Shooting a radar signal in your direction. The outermost position, which is just within the outermost ring, will display contacts that can see you, but aren't necessarily doing anything aggressive.
So I think
once a target locks you up, the RWR warning will start sounding off, and the contact will move in toward the outside of the inner ring, at which point you should assume that you're under attack and begin taking measures to defeat any missiles that might be inbound, because your enemies can use TWS mode just like you can, so you might not get the final warning until it's too late.
Make sure we hit him.
That last warning is the much faster sound along with the contact moving to its innermost position and beginning to flash, which indicates you have been fired on and there is a missile on its way. These three pieces of information can help with your decision making process when dealing with enemy units, as well as help you defeat any inbound missiles by keeping track of their direction from you as you maneuver to avoid
I have plenty of missiles, so I don't mind just continuing to shoot.
The last part is the concept of notching the radars of both missiles and aircraft. One of the limitations of radar is that it struggles to keep track of
You wouldn't
an object
normally
that is
have this
moving
much time, but the
perpendicular
missiles
to its
aren't actually
field of
hitting him,
view.
so I'm confused.
This means that if you can get the missile perfectly off your left chance of forcing it to lose lock on you, effectively defeating the missile. The Hornet RWR provides you with a nice visual indicator of the notch in the form of those two lines on the left and right of the display. If you can get an aggressive signal right in between those two lines, there's a good chance you can notch it and force it to lose the lock. That said, using the notch is generally regarded as a tactic of last resort, as you'll only really use it if you've strayed into the no escape range, and going cold to escape is no longer an option. Regardless, get in the habit of glancing at the RWR as you evade so you can keep track of where your threat is coming from and maneuver as appropriate while dispensing chaff to distract it. Splash 1.
There we go.
Great job taking out the minion.
Alright, so I know that if I haven't gone through a list of all the things that are happening, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you. I'm mostly recording this just to motivate myself to actually do this. Yeah, the mission works as The mission works as as I programmed it to work, and the programming is as more or less as I intended it. The only issue I have is that the RWR information is going to take longer to convey than you're realistically going to have available for you to have it happen. So I think the only realistic since I can't pause everything, because what I would like to happen is I would like to have it to where when you get to that part where you're pulling to the right and then you fire off your missile, I would like for everything to just freeze in an active pause state. But I don't know how to freeze missiles and units and all that stuff and just have them stay frozen in place, so that we can just hold everything. You listen to the RWR brief and how all that works, so that now because up until that point, I want you to be focused on just getting the missile fired off and firing it off in the way that you're supposed to fire it. I don't want you to be distracted by a bunch of other stuff. And then you finally fire off your missile, and then it pauses you. That part's done. Firing the missile's done. Now you're focusing on evading and paying attention to your RWR and all of that. So that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm going to continue to do a little bit more research to try to figure out a way to freeze the aircraft, both the aircraft and the missile that you fired in place, and just kind of stop everything and still allow the narration to continue. I don't know how to do that, but if I can figure it out, that will make it so that this mission does everything I want it to do. It's like 99% there. I just need to figure out this one last thing to make everything work the way I want it to. But anyways, this is the state of this mission so far. I probably won't make any more videos on this, and I don't know that I'm going to continue working on this until I make a decision on which way I'm going to go. I either need to figure out a way to pause all of the appropriate aircraft and all of the appropriate assets in this mission, or I'm just going to have to suck it up and make a completely new mission that focuses strictly on RWR. I don't really want to do that, though, because I'm trying to make this mission a start to finish, this is how BVR engagements go. And splitting it up into a new lesson that focuses on just one part of it is going to interrupt the flow of how you should be thinking about going through these engagements. So realistically, I really want to figure out a way to just freeze everything in place, completely pause the simulation, but still be able to have the radio call coming through. And I don't know how to do that. There doesn't seem to be an option for that. But anyways, that's where I am on this right now. So hopefully you guys had fun. Be sure to click the like button to spread the video out to more people. Subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member if you'd like early access to videos, among other perks, to help us support the work that we're doing here. Or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. So again, thank you very much for watching this episode of the DCS World F-18 Flight School Campaign quality control work. Be sure to come back for the next episode, and I'll see you then.